Alright guys, Touch Grubby back again today. Hope you're enjoying your Friday so far, and today I wanted to talk about the roster lock before CWL World Championships, or CDL of course, World Championships this year. It's going to be on July the 6th, it was officially confirmed yesterday. That's going to be the Monday before the New York event that is coming up. 2 more events after that with the London one, then the Paris one, then the World Championship. So we don't have long before the World Championship does begin. Now, wanted to talk about today whether there are some potential changes still going to be made so far this season, because yes, we've only really got 1.5 more weeks or something before this roster lock comes into effect, and then everything is going to be set in stone. Yes, teams can still make substitution changes from whoever's on their sub bench, but that's not ideal, especially when there's such great talent out there on the bench of teams that might want to go to other organizations. We'll look at that today. Like if you guys enjoy the video, subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. First of all, just to mention, Scuff Gaming came out with these 12 teams, 1 league, 13 designs, so they're like the 2020 collection type of thing. Wanted to know what you guys thought on these designs. I think the Rocker one's kind of nice, maybe the Surge one. So yeah, a couple of nice things going on here, but I always think it's kind of interesting that the league is Scuff sponsored and they do the Scuff team of the week and all that kind of stuff, but some of the players individually are sponsored by Battle Beaver, and these tweets are still alive. I just went to search these up really quickly, and Sim talking about how he's partnered with Battle Beaver back in October 2019 now. Gunless said a similar thing in December, so a lot of the pros use Battle Beaver controllers, but the league is still Scuff sponsored. Always thought that was kind of interesting, and who knows, right, with the PS5 coming out, I'm pretty sure Sony are going to try and come out with some sort of controller which is going to have panels on the back that maybe put some of these guys out of business. I have to see how that develops over the coming months. Also wanted to mention this real quick, a few of you guys pointing this out to me. Of course, we've talked about Awakening and potentially using the Cronus to cheat and all this kind of stuff. Clayster actually liked this tweet yesterday from Connor saying, time to bring out the old Cronus and GoPro. If Awakening can do it, so can I. The fact that Clayster liked this, a lot of people were thinking, you know, does this mean anything? Or is Clayster implying that he thinks Awakening does in fact cheat? Or is it just like, is he just liking it to betas, or just, you know, having to like it by accident or something? Who even knows, right? So don't really want to dig into it much, but maybe that does mean potentially that Clayster thinks that there might be something fishy going on with Awakening, as we did talk about a couple of days ago. So let's talk about this roster lock then. Confirmed for July the 6th. This is the clip I'll show on screen right now from the Contesting the Point you know, video that went up on the CDL channel. Leave that link down below as well. This is what Benson has to say.
Let's be honest. Okay, Malik, we have, what, 3 events left in the season? Roster lock, I believe, is in 2 weeks from when we're recording. It is July 6th, if I'm not mistaken. It's the Monday, 2 weeks from today. You know what? I'm even going to check my calendar. Yeah, July 6th is going to be the exact date. Roster's lock. Don't want to tell any lies or misinformation.
So the roster lock is not far away indeed. New York event, Paris event, Toronto event, and the World Championships will all have to be played with the same starting roster. Makes sense that it finished around now, but we really haven't heard much about the what the roster lock was going to be, especially given with the whole situation with it going to the online scene and pushing back the season somewhat, so maybe they had to change the roster lock as well. This is the teams that are in the CDL right now, and I've effectively color-coded them based on what I think they're going to do for the rest of the season, especially with this roster lock just coming up. So the teams in green, I believe, are just going to be set in stone for their starting lineups. Obviously, FaZe, Huntsman, Empire, and Mutineers, it'd be very unlikely that they would change. Subliners, I think, are pretty set in stone as well, and also they don't really have the strength and depth on the substitute bench to potentially make those changes, so I think Subliners starting roster will stay. Surge, we've talked about how, you know, Enabled's not going to be in the team anymore for the rest of the season, so their starting lineup is almost certainly going to stay. And then you've got Toronto Ultra as well, where, okay, they could make some substitute changes, but it feels like they're kind of getting into this group with this CleanX squad, so it seems quite likely to me that this 5 will stay, but they could also be in this orange category. And the orange category kind of means that this, well, this roster will stay the same, but will the starting lineup remain the same? Who knows? I think Royal Ravens is quite likely to, but they did want Nasty in earlier in the season, so who knows what happens if restrictions ease, which they probably won't do, but, you know, who knows when it goes to LAN. Might be possible that Nasty can go into this starting lineup if that's something they wanted to do, if Shawnee continues to somewhat underperform from where this team would like, I suppose, the slaying level to be at. So that was a change they wanted to do earlier in the season. Possible they can still make it work, but at this point it's somewhat unlikely if Nasty's visa doesn't get sorted, and I doubt it will do, to be honest, with the current circumstances. And then you've got Gorillas as well, who, yes, they just brought Saints into the team, seem to be having more success with him, made their top 4 placing very recently as well, and maybe they're looking now at Lacefield sitting on the bench and thinking, well, you know, we had some, maybe Lacefield's a guy to bring back if Decimate maybe underperforms or whatever. That could still be a change to potentially be made, but I don't picture any of these teams bringing in new talent to their entire roster. Same really with the Paris Legion, just because they've stuck with this roster the entire season. If they are going to make a change, seems to me very unlikely they would bring in someone externally. They'll probably try out Phantoms or try out Breezy or Brezzy that they have on their substitute bench. So that leaves us with 2 teams, that being OGLA that we talked about yesterday, and also the Minnesota Rocker, which I think is quite an interesting team that we can talk about here in a couple of seconds. So yes, we talked about OGLA, we've talked about Gunless being on the bench of the Huntsman. Like, is that a possible move? Is that something they would consider? Slasher and Gunless maybe didn't get on in the past. Is the problem on the team like Chino in the slaying? Maybe not. There's probably more deeper issues. So just making a one-person change probably isn't going to turn this team completely around. And as Gunless said on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, like, why does he have to be the team, the player joining teams to fix them up, right? Why can't he just join good teams? Is kind of what he implied, because people are saying, oh, join OGLA, Gunless can help get this squad ship shape for the World Championship. Does he really want to do that? Has he really been able to do that in the past? Think about when he joined Envy in Black Ops 4, like before Champs, it didn't really work out for them, right? So could it work out with OGLA? Personally, I kind of doubt it. Probably need a multi-person change. I don't really think that's going to happen. So yes, I'm keeping OGLA in red here because I think there's a decent chance they do manage to make something work. But honestly, all things considered, with a week and a half to go, I don't think it's overwhelmingly likely. So the other question is, I suppose, the Minnesota Rocker. Now, Gunless also said in that Codcast episode that he does, well, he does have some options on the table. He kind of implied that there were some teams he was thinking about, some teams that he has maybe some offers from, and obviously there's not too much time left to get everything set in stone. But the Rocker are in an interesting spot right now, as we will talk about, because Alex, of course, had to step out for Exceed very recently due to this thumb issue that he had a couple of weekends ago now. And as Sensor pointed out on stream in this clip I'm just about to share with you guys, Alex does not look like he's going to be back anytime soon, or at least as of right now, Exceed is still in the starting lineup.
Only thing that really matters is a chance, man. Like, yeah, the seeding is very nice, obviously, for the league. They want to pass the Ravens. You want to pass Rocker. It looks like Rocker has Exceed playing for them now, so that should be an advantage for Subliners, obviously, because Alex is like one of their best players. No disrespect to Exceed, it's just, you know, one of the best players is out, so that's going to hurt Rocker. London did 3-0 us, but we seem to be getting...
So, of course, since the early days of this season, when Minnesota Rocker was doing very, very well indeed, making grand finals of tournaments here against, well, Los Angeles event and then the Week 5 Dallas event as well, picking up a hell of a lot of points. They never won an event, but most recently they've definitely fallen off to a fairly great degree. And, of course, Alex having to step out of the team is far from ideal for this squad. And then you look at the overall point standings, and yes, you could say, okay, Minnesota Rocker is somewhat safe here, because if you finish in the top 8, you're in a pretty good situation, because top 8 means you start in the winners bracket at Champs, and it's very unlikely that Rocker will somehow fall out of the top 8, to be honest. They should be pretty safe, but of course you've got to get your roster in a good shape for Champs, because finishing top 8 in the league isn't really good enough if you're just going to lose your first 2 matches and bow out of the tournament, as they honestly could do on current form. They're not going to get top 4 given the caliber of teams right here, you would imagine. So look, Minnesota Rocker could be considering other options, and what's quite interesting is that this tweet from Parasite came out a while ago now. So his current teammate Fire, who you guys may not have heard of, a new name coming onto the amateur scene really, says this in some DMs: 2 players on Rocker followed me, I'm scared, oh my god, this is it, you know, what do I do? You have like 20 years of experience. So yeah, who knows whether Fire could potentially be getting picked up here to this Minnesota Rocker squad. This is what his tournament results look like. Most recently been playing with Parasite and Goonjar, so that's where he's talking about Jev here, that's Goonjar. This is Paul X, so you guys might know on this squad as well, but Exotic, Fire, Paul X, and you know, he's had some pretty decent results on LAN, AG and Chicago, for example, last year, with this squad with Jimbo and Archive, some names you guys might know, and more recently the Minnesota, the Paris Opens, they've had some decent results online with this Fire guy, and he's had a couple of good clips that showed that he's definitely a bit of a talent that players that might be considering, and as he says, like some of the Rocker guys following him, maybe that's something that they potentially consider going forwards. Maybe it's not overwhelmingly likely, but I'd be intrigued to hear your thoughts on this down in the comment section below. Really, yes, roster lock is coming up, but will any team manage to make something work? If Gunless can go somewhere, if he doesn't go anywhere, what does even his prospects look like for next season? But does he want to go on to a, you know, an OGLA or a Rocker team that potentially might struggle a little bit for the rest of the season? I might set him up in a difficult spot contractually going into next season as well. So intrigued to hear your thoughts on all this kind of stuff down below. Before we finish the video, just wanted to mention a couple more things then, because there's been talk about the LAN versus online environment for Champs, and just wanted to mention this if you guys had seen these tweets, because Clayster came out and said, please just a crumb of consistency, you guys have got to be playing Champs on LAN, right? And Clayster says like, haha, like almost implying there's no chance, and the simp does this tweet. However, it was then confirmed on the Reddit that, okay, I'll admit this was bait, I don't know anything about Champs or how it's functioning, so we'll just have to see what happens going forwards. Of course, it looks like it should be on LAN. Hex was saying that their definite plan is for it to be on LAN. Cellian wasn't so sure though, and it is somewhat a concern that it might be online. But then again, look, it's a $4.2 million tournament this year. I can't imagine they're going to be doing that online, to be honest. But, you know, we'll just have to see what develops. Hopefully, it's going to be okay, and it is going to be on LAN. But as the players are talking about here, no one really knows. People behind the scenes don't really seem to know. Definitely some contingency planning going on, but things are very changeable right now. And so, yeah, what the hell is going to happen in the coming months? Who even knows? But it should be August time with any luck. If they have to push it back a month for it to be on LAN, I am more than happy for them to do that. I'll finish up with this clip from Morks because pretty interesting to see how, yes, Morks was benched most recently on the Florida squad and they've become very, very good indeed. But he went back and played Black Ops 4. I think you may have seen Octane's video on it. If you guys don't watch Octane's YouTube, he went back and played Black Ops 4 very briefly. And yeah, Morks was pretty excited the fact that he could actually predict spawns. And yeah, definitely gives a bit of perspective, right, on what maybe we're missing this year from competitive play. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like if you did, subscribe if you're new. As always, I would greatly appreciate it. Thanks for watching. I will see you next time.
They're spawning out P1. They're spawning out P1. Let's go. I know where they're spawning. They're spawning out beer. I know where they're spawning, stream. I know where they're spawning. I got your help.